Hello, I'm Mike and welcome to this bit of my channel where I chat about a physics degree. And this time I just want to talk about frustrating things that really bugged me when I was doing my degree. And this is not like things that I didn't like because they're difficult, this is more things that irked me about the way the degree was done. To start off, the errors in exams, if you're doing a degree, especially in UK universities, can be bloody frustrating. So, to explain why, your exam is generally set by your lecturer, the person who is making that course, and they write the exam generally during the course and not long before the exam. Now, on the one hand, this is a good thing. It means that UK universities tend not to have the sort of stupid cheating scandals that happen in a lot of US places, which, when you look at them, are almost always the questions are in a big document somewhere, stored electronically, and because it's the same base set of questions that you pick a few from every year for a decade, someone eventually works out how to steal it. No, really clever system in the UK and dead simple. Your lecturer writes the exam and they don't give much time between them writing it and the exam being set, which makes it really hard to get hold of a cheat sheet like that. The disadvantage is that there's less time for checking for errors. And I definitely remember at least 2 or 3 times errors coming up where where the person invigilating the exam says, "Hey, we got a problem here. Right, this question, this wording's wrong," because someone had picked it up in the exam. I also remember one question where you were given a formula to use to do a particular derivation. And the formula that was used had an error in it, which meant that while you could see the formula that you were using and you knew roughly what the derivation should get, you couldn't actually get the right answer because error in the question. And that one didn't get caught during the exam, it came up and was sort of fudged in the marking later. So that was frustrating. As I say, I can see why universities do things that way, but it is bloody frustrating. The other few things, in first year especially, crowded lecture theatres. I mean, this might be different depending on where you are, but where I was, the expectation is that not all students will turn up to lectures. Therefore, you can have slightly more students in your course than you can fit in the lecture hall that you are using, which is, in my view, cynical, money-grabbing bastards. But I can see why they do that. Extra students is more money, and you don't want to limit the amount of students just because you've got this one lecture hall with a limit. Slight problem, of course, if you're the one who ends up sitting on the steps down to the lecture theatre rather than in a chair, which is really uncomfortable, especially for sort of hour, 2-hour things. Another one that comes up is sometimes for exams, lack of example type questions. Universities are under no obligation to give you model answers for sort of exam style questions. They might do out of courtesy, and they might do because students sort of pressure the lecturers to give them some idea of what they're supposed to do, but they're under no obligation to, and that's fair. But especially if you're doing a course that's fairly recently started up, so like say if let's pretend your university just brings in a lecturer who's or a few people who are generally quite good at cryogenics, and therefore you make a course that wasn't taught at that university before. Suddenly you're doing an exam which has no real past questions, so you have no idea what the exam's going to be like. And that makes it a lot more difficult than a course where you've got 10 years of past material which someone will have put somewhere online. So that's an interesting thing that while it frustrated me, it means that your life becomes harder if you take courses that aren't as old. The last thing, and this is more me griping at students, but I did mention this earlier in the video, there is an expectation that not all students turn up to lectures. It's fine as you get towards the end of a degree, when there's less people. That really starts to show up in things like sort of workshops, or sort of places where you are answering questions and you may get help from someone more experienced. And although it was nice to get help, I do remember feeling very sad because one of those was like 3 senior, one fairly senior and then 2 slightly younger academics helping third year students sort of work through example questions on one of the courses that they were doing. I think it was an electromagnetism based one. And there's like 5 students in the room because it's who turned up. And especially given researchers are busy, I'm learning that now, I'm doing my PhD. Researchers are very busy usually, and if they've taken that time out to help people, it's just kind of disgusting how lazy some students can get. But anyway, that's just me. I'll probably rant about lazy students a lot more in the future. But anyway, that's the frustrating bits of a degree as I see it. Hope you enjoyed listening. Goodbye.